I'd like to tell you what Bethlehem means to me and what I learned from being involved in the start of Bethlehem. I was one of, I think there were 28 of us, it was 6 families, who stood in front of the altar at Divine Savior about 22 years ago and were commissioned, similar to what we experienced this morning, the leadership team being commissioned to come and help start Bethlehem. At the time, I always belonged to big churches. We just went to church and everything magically was there. We didn't have to think about who was going to play the keyboard or how were we going to get the hymnals and all the books put together and how were we going to get members or anything like that. So it was quite an experience and quite honestly, one that I wasn't prepared for, but I did learn. And it was interesting. Most of us had not been involved in starting a mission church or being involved in any expansion programs or anything like that. So we all had to pitch in and really learn what to do. We did 20,000 dial-ups, and many of our brothers and sisters from Divine Savior at the time helped with that. We canvassed areas. From the 20,000 dial-ups, I think we got maybe about 800 people who responded when we asked, would you like more information about our church? They said yes. So then we started making up packets of information to send to them. And we followed those packets up with more phone calls, sometimes actually visited them. And of course, we were so enthusiastic, we thought all that was going to, the Lord was going to just bring in this volume of people. And I think we got 2 or 3 families over the course of the next couple years that actually came as a result of those initiatives and how the Lord worked through those. Finally, though, when we came together and we had our first service, which was in December of '91 at the Carmel Library, the old Carmel Library, and we planned very carefully for this service. We even planned on what everyone was going to wear, because we didn't want we didn't want everybody to be dressed. Well, we didn't want to have everybody dressed up in our Sunday best, because what if somebody from the community wearing blue jeans and flip-flops would have come, yes, they had flip-flops even then, would have come, then they would have been offended or, not felt comfortable. So some of us wore blue jeans and some of us wore Sunday suits, and it was a variety. And I don't think anyone new came to that service and probably didn't for quite a while. We did learn an interesting thing, that the people who ended up coming many times came as a result of friendship evangelism. We worked with someone and we invited them to come, or a neighbor or whatever, and that's oftentimes maybe the most obvious way that the Lord works. Oh, let's see, I've rewritten this so many times. So anyway, we continued. We learned a lot about each other. There were only about 60 of us. Actually, the 28 kind of grew to the 60. And we had to do a lot of committee work that we served on multiple committees, and we did multiple things. We kind of rotated everything. We had families that ushered. So not just the men, whole families, the kids would learn to pass the collection or the offering plate and so on. But I think what happened was we really learned to trust one another, get to know one another, and more than anything else, we saw the hand of the Lord in how all these things worked out as He had in mind for us. I'd like to just say that we started at the old Carmel Library, then we moved to an office complex at Kirby Park across from the ice stadium here in Carmel, and we made that into kind of a sanctuary and some offices and Sunday school rooms and so on. And then from there we moved over to Smoky Row Elementary School so that we could save some money for the building, because it was becoming more and more obvious that we really wanted to have a church home instead of kind of wandering around. And I will not forget, it was in June of 2000 that we moved into this building, and I know several of you were here for that. after having gone through 9 years of kind of wandering, I really felt like I knew what the children of Israel felt like when they got to the Promised Land. I mean, this was really a special building. So we all felt very strongly that it was very special. And I think, when I think back, and I was trying to think of how to put this all into words, you know, what God taught us through all this is to trust. Trust Him, trust each other, know that He's with us and He is going to take care of us. Pastor, I meant to ask you this beforehand, but when we first applied for funding to buy this property and the parsonage property and then build a church, what was the total commitment? Wasn't it like 600, 700,000?
I think the total after the building was about
800,000, and I want to tell you, there were only about 60 of us at that time. So talk about trusting, you know, that was a lot of money. And thankfully, the Church Extension Fund and the Mission Board agreed to it and said, you're worth it. I think God's using you guys, and it's going to work out. So when you think of all those things, loading up all the Bibles and the books and into the big black Tupperware cases and loading them onto the trailer that Ken Phillips built to take it all over the place until we could finally store it here, all the work that we did, I think the biggest thing that I've come away with is trust. Trust in the Lord. And one of my favorite Bible passages ever since I did the 2-7 course at Divine Savior was trust in the Lord. It's Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will make your path straight. And that's exactly what He's done. So I invite all of you, because over the years I've thought that this has been such a special impact of my life to be part of Bethlehem. I hope that you all will feel that way now as we move into this next phase. Trust the Lord, look to Him for all the guidance, and I know it's going to be successful. Thank you.